to LSU's defense. Let's talk about what LSU's defense has done in the past and what they've shown, some areas that they've done well. And let's talk about Lenor Sellers and how you can attack this LSU defense, the 3 keys. So just like we talked about with Nussmeier, we have a few keys for Sellers to have success against LSU's defense. And this, like we talked about with South Carolina's defense, we're going to look at what LSU has done in the first 2 games, primarily just actually game 1 against USC. Because again, the Nicholls State, I know they gave up 21 points against Nicholls. So we'll talk about that a little bit because that's not great to see against an FCS opponent, but still, sometimes you can overlook teams. All right, so with that said, let's talk about LSU's defense and what they've shown so far. So like South Carolina's defense, LSU's D gets pressure too. Now, it's a little bit different than South Carolina's defense, where LSU's blitzing nearly half the time, at least against Miller Moss and USC. 46% of Miller Moss's dropbacks, LSU is blitzing. So they were able to get decent pressure. I think 16 total pressures out of Miller Moss's 38, 39 dropbacks, whatever it was. So again, not nearly as much as South Carolina's defense so far, but still they were able to get pressure enough that they like to blitz. They like to be aggressive, except that last drive against USC, right? If you're an LSU fan, you remember that. But with that said, they were able to get pressure on 38% of Miller Moss's dropbacks, which is a pretty high amount. So LSU can get pressure on the quarterback. 2, they have the talent up front. Again, they get pressure differently than South Carolina. South Carolina hasn't blitzed a ton and has gotten a lot of pressure. LSU's defense has blitzed to get pressure. Again, like we talked about with South Carolina's defense, LSU could completely change this against South Carolina, but so far they've been blitzing a fair amount. Now, where their biggest question mark is, and maybe where you can potentially have success if you're LaNorris Sellers and South Carolina, is their secondary. I think their secondary has the biggest question mark so far. Miller Moss was 10 of 13 for 119 yards, 9.2 yards per attempt when he was under pressure. So he had a hell of a game when he was under pressure. Usually those numbers are not nearly as good. For some context, Brock Vandergrift was 1 of 6 against South Carolina when he was under pressure. A good game, maybe 5 of 11 for 91 yards and no touchdowns, no interceptions. That might be a good game when you're under pressure, under duress, right? So Miller Moss had a heck of a game when under pressure. So what does that tell me? Where it tells me there's some potential holes in LSU secondary, maybe, right? Maybe that's where I can take my shots. Maybe I can try to expose some of the DBs here if I'm Lenor Sellers, if I'm South Carolina's offense. And like we talked about with South Carolina, their pressure led to positive outcomes to the defense. 3 interceptions, at least 1 forced fumble that South Carolina was able to pick up. But LSU has 0 interceptions so far in the secondary. So their pressure, while it's led to maybe some more 3rd and longs or some balls being thrown away, it hasn't led to any turnovers yet, right? So just going off USC, I think we can expect, or going off the game against USC, I think we can expect LSU's defense to blitz, and hopefully they can get there quickly. If you're an LSU fan or if you're an LSU defense, you're hoping you can get to the quarterback quickly. You can disrupt the quarterback only making his 3rd career start, and you can protect their DBs a little bit, or that their DBs, if you're LSU, your DBs start making some plays on these balls, these contested throws, right? So again, they haven't had an interception yet. It's coming at some point. And so if you're LSU, you hope this pressure can lead to some picks and that your DBs can take a step up this game against South Carolina, right? So if I'm LaNorris Sellers, what's my theme? How do I attack a defense that has gotten some good pressure? They have utilized the blitz, but their DBs haven't had any takeaways yet, right? Now, again, the guys are getting better every game. So maybe this is where it clicks for LSU's DBs. Maybe not, right? But what's the theme for LaNorris Sellers? Well, number one is, can you continue to develop? Can you take the next step? Can you build off the positive game you had against Kentucky? Again, there's a lot of questions about South Carolina's offense, and it wasn't like they looked great against Kentucky by any means, but you saw LaNorris Sellers take some steps. You saw LaNorris Sellers make some throws in the pocket and outside the pocket as well, right? So you saw some positivity from LaNorris Sellers. So can he take the next step? You don't want to be the quarterback that gives LSU's DBs confidence, right? You don't want to be the guy that throws them some interceptions. His pick against Kentucky, and we'll look at that pick here in a second. We're going to look at some film. His pick against Kentucky, it was the right read. You're going to notice he just waited way too long to throw the ball. And by the time he threw the ball, the defense was able to cover the receiver. So you want to make sure you're on time with your throws, right? So we're going to look at that here in a second. But key number one, if I'm LaNorris Sellers, which obviously I'm not, but if I'm the OC and I'm trying to put Sellers in a good position, use your legs. I want to utilize you in the run game, but also throw outside the pocket. you're going to look at some of the throws that Sellers got comfortable with. He was outside the pocket, using his legs, rolling out. Some was by design, and some was just him escaping. We're going to look at 2 or 3 different plays of Sellers using his legs, throwing the ball on the run. Number 2, be on time with your throw. Again, we're going to watch the interception here in a second. He just wasn't on time. So be on time with your throws. And number 3, I want to take some shots downfield. Challenge LSU's DBs. If you think your receivers are better than the DBs, like if you think that the DBs are the problem, which they may or may not be a problem, maybe they just don't have any picks hit. But if you think you can have some advantageous plays, take some shots downfield. If you're LaNorris Sellers, right? You got the arm, you got good weapons to throw to. Take some shots downfield, right? So number 1, use your legs. You look to be more comfortable throwing outside the pocket last week against Kentucky, so utilize that. Number 2, be on time with your throws. If you're late with your throws, the LSU DBs are going to be able to cover. Even if a receiver was open initially, they're going to be able to cover. Number 3, take some shots downfield. Try to expose that defense if you think you can, right? And then just to spread the field and try to maybe slow down them blitzing a little bit, because they're going to try to confuse you. Just like South Carolina is going to try to confuse Nussmeier, LSU's defense is going to try to confuse Lenor. So I think LSU's defense is much, much improved from last year. I really, really do. The only question is the secondary, right? So far this season. Okay, so with that said, let's go ahead and watch the film. We're going to watch a few clips of LSU's defense and what they've done well, and we're going to look at the USC game. And then we're going to watch LaNorris Sellers, what plays we want to see. I'll show that interception too, so we can talk about the importance of being on time. Again, if this is your first time tuning in, like, share, subscribe. We're just a big SEC quarterback hub. We talk all things SEC quarterbacks, from these game previews to some film breakdowns. And again, this film is broadcast footage, so we've got to go a bit slower. So I do apologize for that. It's not the best quality, but I think it does a decent job getting the point across. So with that said, let's go ahead and dive into the film. All right, so we're just going to watch one clip of LSU's defense here. Again, broadcast footage, got to slow it down. I do apologize for the inconvenience, but it does a good job still demonstrating what we're trying to get the point across, right? So you got to see LSU brings pressure here. They blitz. We talked about LSU blitzing nearly 50% of Miller Moss's dropbacks, but the problem was they weren't able to lead to interceptions and turnovers like South Carolina's defense was able to do, right? So here's an example of LSU's defense. They plan. Here we go. So LSU's bringing pressure here. They do a good job picking it up, but they do get some pressure in Moss, but Moss takes a shot downfield. So this is what I want to see from Sellers, taking some shots downfield. 1, to challenge LSU's DBs, see who's better, right? 2, maybe you get some PIs as well. There are several PIs from LSU's DBs against USC. And I could have shown several clips of USC's receivers making plays on LSU's DBs, but just chose to show this one, right? But it shows LSU blitzing. It shows what LSU, I think, will potentially do against Sellers. And then if you're Sellers, maybe taking some shots deep here. Try to get a flag, but try to get a completion as well, obviously. All right, so let's look at Sellers. Again, LSU's defense bringing pressure. That wasn't the problem. It was leading to positivity. All right, so let's move myself out of the way here. So here's an example of Sellers throwing on the run. Now this is not a designed pass here. Let's see. Yeah, this is just Sellers escaping the pocket from pressure. I know he's out of the screen, but you can kind of see this is where the free runner comes. But there were several design rollouts from Sellers that maybe I should have used instead. But still, this does a good job showing Sellers comfortable throwing on the run. Other receivers wide open. But I do want to see more throws. I just think Sellers is much better on the run right now. He did show some good throws from the pocket that I think he's developing, but get him comfortable. These type of throws, I know he escaped, but get some design rollouts for Sellers to throw outside the pocket on the run. And this next clip is going to be Sellers' interception. So let's move here. And this is the importance of timing. Be on time with your receivers. Don't give LSU's DBs a reason to get excited. Don't be the first quarterback to give them the interception this year or multiple, right? If you do, whatever, shrug it off and keep chugging. So we're going to see this receiver actually becomes open fairly quickly. Again, we don't know the reads. We don't know who he was supposed to throw to. So maybe he's not supposed to throw to this receiver getting open. Again, we not in those meetings. But regardless, you got to throw on time. And this right here, you can kind of see he gets open. Sellers just waits too long to throw the ball. He is open, that pocket, middle of the field. Boom, you can throw there. There's a few different type of throws you can make in that throw. Again, we don't know the read, what he's supposed to be reading. Then when he comes to him, he sits down. He's open right here still, right? So you're open right there. And then he just waits a little too long. again, he's covered. You got that backer right here, and then you got the safety here. It ends up being just like an overthrow, I believe, that leads to interception. But again, the importance of timing, I think here, yeah, just a little high there, right? But if he throws earlier, the receiver's open, right? Again, we don't know the read, so maybe I shouldn't be using this clip, but I still think hammering home the importance of being on time on your throws. All right, so if you're sellers, you want to utilize your legs, you want to challenge the DBs, and then be on time with your throws. If you're a Gamecock fan, LSU fan, whatever it may be, let me know your thoughts in the comments below, what you think about this game. And if you're a South Carolina fan, let me know your thoughts about what you think Sellers needs to do, to have success and to continue to develop against LSU's defense and as a quarterback. Again, like, share, subscribe if you're an SEC QB fan. That does help the channel grow, and keep following us along. We'll see you next time. Peace.